The morning sun cast long shadows across the quiet streets of West Hollywood as Jamal Rodriguez adjusted his delivery bag one more time. At 19, he had mastered the art of balancing his UCLA film studies with his part-time job as a courier, weaving through Los Angeles traffic with the precision of someone who couldn't afford to be late. Today felt no different from any other Tuesday until he glanced at his final delivery address. The GPS led him through increasingly upscale neighborhoods, past manicured lawns and towering palm trees, until he found himself standing before an imposing gate. The address matched, but the property looked more like a fortress than a home. High walls, security cameras, and a simple brass nameplate reading only TC gave no hint of what lay beyond. Jamal pressed the intercom button, expecting the usual crackly response from a housekeeper or assistant. Instead, a surprisingly familiar voice answered, "Yeah, come on up to the house." The gates swung open with a mechanical hum, revealing a winding driveway that led to a surprisingly modest, mansion-impressive, but not the gaudy display of wealth he'd expected in this neighborhood. As he approached the front door, Jamal noticed the meticulous landscaping and the subtle security measures integrated seamlessly into the design. He rang the doorbell, adjusting his courier uniform and preparing his standard delivery greeting. The door opened and Jamal's prepared words died in his throat. Standing before him, in a simple gray t-shirt and black sweatpants, hair slightly tousled from what appeared to be a recent workout, was Tom Cruise. Not a look-alike, not a poster or cut out the actual Tom Cruise, looking exactly as he did in movies, but somehow more real, more human. "You've got to be kidding me," Jamal whispered, his delivery bag sliding down his shoulder. Tom's famous smile spread across his face as he took in the young man's shocked expression. "Let me guess you weren't expecting me to answer my own door?" Jamal stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. He delivered to celebrities before minor actors, influencers, even a famous chef once, but this was different. This was Tom Cruise, the Tom Cruise, standing in his doorway like it was the most normal thing in the world. Delivery for TC?" Jamal managed to stammer, holding up the insulated bag containing what his manifest listed as Thai food from a restaurant in Beverly Hills. "That's me," Tom said with a chuckle, reaching for the bag. "People always seem surprised that I order my own food. What, you think I survive on movie catering forever?" As Tom took the delivery, he noticed Jamal's continued state of shock. The kid wasn't reaching for his phone to take a selfie or asking for an autograph. He just stood there, staring like he'd seen a ghost. "You okay, man?" Tom asked, genuinely concerned. "You look like you've seen something impossible." I mean, "You're Tom Cruise?" Jamal said, finding his voice. "I've watched every single one of your movies, multiple times. Mission Impossible, Top Gun, Jerry Maguire, Born on the 4th of July. I mean, everything. I'm studying film at UCLA. And your work. It's just incredible." Tom's expression softened. There was something different about this kid's reaction, not the usual starstruck fan behavior, but genuine appreciation for the craft. "Film student, huh? What's your focus? Acting primarily?" "Though I'm interested in all aspects of filmmaking. I write scripts, I've done some directing, even worked as an extra on a few productions to learn how sets operate." Jamal was gaining confidence now, talking about something he was passionate about. "I actually wrote my senior thesis on the evolution of action sequences in modern cinema, and your stunt work came up a lot." Tom raised an eyebrow, impressed. "You wrote about stunt work? Most people just focus on the explosions and ignore the preparation." "That's exactly what I argued." Jamal's eyes lit up. "The physical preparation, the choreography, the way you actually perform most of your own stunt set adds an authenticity that CGI can't replicate. The audience can feel the difference, even if they can't articulate why." For a moment, Tom studied the young man in front of him. Here was someone who understood the craft, who appreciated the work behind the spectacle. He made a decision that would surprise even himself. "You know what? I just finished my morning workout, and I was about to have some coffee before diving into this food. You want to come in for a few minutes? I don't get many chances to talk to film students who actually understand what goes into making movies. Jamal's eyes widened. Are you serious? I mean, I don't want to impose. I'm sure you have important things to do. More important than talking to the next generation of filmmakers? I don't think so. Come on, but only if you promise not to spend the whole time taking pictures for social media. I promise, Jamal said quickly, following Tom through the front door. The interior of the house was elegant but surprisingly comfortable. No ostentatious displays of wealth, no walls covered with movie posters or awards. Instead, there were family photos, books, and comfortable furniture that looked actually used rather than staged for a magazine shoot. Tom led him to a spacious kitchen with large windows overlooking a beautifully landscaped backyard. Coffee? He asked, moving toward an expensive-looking espresso machine. That would be amazing, thank you. As Tom prepared the coffee, he continued their conversation. So tell me, what's your ultimate goal? Everyone says they want to be an actor, but what does that really mean for you? Jamal settled into a bar stool at the kitchen island, still hardly believing this was happening. I want to tell stories that matter. I know that sounds cliché, but I grew up in East LA, and I didn't see many stories about kids like me making it out, making something of themselves. Not just crime dramas or stereotypes, but real stories about real people with dreams and struggles and hopes. Tom nodded as he worked the espresso machine with practiced efficiency. That's not cliché at all. That's essential. The best performances, the best films, come from authentic places. When you're drawing from real experience, real emotion, audiences can tell. Is that how you approach your roles? Finding the authentic core? Tom handed Jamal a perfectly crafted cappuccino and leaned against the counter with his own cup. Always. Every character has to have truth at its center, even in the most outlandish action sequences. Take Ethan Hunt's, he does impossible things, but his motivation is always grounded in protecting people he cares about. That's something everyone can understand. For the next 20 minutes, they talked about everything from method acting to the business side of Hollywood, from the importance of persistence to the reality of rejection. Tom shared stories from his early days, the failed auditions, the small roles that taught him humility, the gradual building of a career that looked overnight to outsiders but took years of dedicated work. The thing people don't realize, Tom said, setting down his empty cup, is that success in this business isn't just about talent. It's about resilience, professionalism, and never losing sight of why you started. Fame, money, awards, those are byproducts. The work itself, the craft, that has to be what drives you. Jamal hung on every word. This wasn't the Hollywood mythology he'd read about in magazines or seen in behind-the-scenes documentaries. This was real advice from someone who had navigated the industry for decades and maintained both success and respect. I should probably let you get back to your day, Jamal said reluctantly, glancing at his phone and realizing he'd been there much longer than planned. This has been, I can't even begin to thank you. Tom smiled. Actually, hold on a second. He disappeared into another room, leaving Jamal alone in the kitchen, still trying to process the surreal turn his ordinary Tuesday had taken. When Tom returned, he was carrying a small manila envelope. I want you to have this, he said, extending it toward Jamal. What is it? A little investment in your future. But don't open it, now wait until you get home. And promise me something. Whatever happens with your career, whether you become the next big thing or decide filmmaking isn't for you, remember this conversation. Remember that success isn't about becoming famous. It's about becoming the best version of yourself and using your talents to contribute something meaningful to the world. Jamal took the envelope with trembling hands. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything. Just promise me you'll keep working, keep learning, and keep that authenticity you talked about. The industry needs voices like yours. They shook hands at the front door, and Tom clapped Jamal on the shoulder. And hey, when you make your first film, I want to see it, deal? Deal, Jamal managed, his voice thick with emotion. The drive home passed in a blur. Jamal kept glancing at the envelope on his passenger seat, wondering what could possibly be inside. When he finally reached his small apartment near campus, he sat on his bed and carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten note on simple white paper. Asterisk, Jamal. Your passion for storytelling and your understanding of the craft impressed me today. Real success comes from pursuing your dreams with integrity and never forgetting where you came from. This is just a starting point, the rest is up to you. Keep pushing forward, TCPS. Use this to invest in your education, your craft, or your first project. Make it count. Beneath the note was a check that made Jamal's hands shake. It was enough to cover his remaining tuition, buy professional equipment, or fund a small independent film. It was more money than he'd ever seen in one place, but more than that, it represented something he'd never expected to receive. Belief from someone he admired. Jamal set the check aside and read the note again. Then he picked up his laptop and opened the screenplay he'd been working on for months. The story about a kid from East LA with impossible dreams and the people who helped him believe they weren't so impossible after all. As he began to type, Jamal smiled. His ordinary Tuesday delivering Thai food had become the day his real journey began. And somewhere across the city, Tom Cruise was probably sitting down to his lunch, completely unaware that he'd just changed a young man's life forever. The story Jamal would eventually tell, the one that would launch his career and touch millions of viewers, would begin with a simple truth. Sometimes the most extraordinary moments come disguised as ordinary deliveries. And sometimes the biggest stars are the ones who remind you that dreams are worth pursuing, one authentic step at a time.